We're having Sharad Bhatia, President for Schaeffler Vehicle Lifetime Solutions India.
Thank you.
Sharad, nice to have you in the interview.
Likewise, Ajit, thanks. And pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. We've been, in the last couple of days, it's been very interesting at the show talking about, standardization, how the ecosystem needs to come together to create a platform for, the aftermarket to unlock new opportunities. So as president of, Vehicle Lifetime Solutions at Schaeffler India, what is the most important transformation the organization must get right over the next 3 to 5 years to sustain a profitable growth?
I think it's a very, very pertinent question, specifically in the context that, the Indian aftermarket overall worldwide, if we compare to overseas locations, is one of the fastest growing market in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that, on the other hand, it's also getting complex day by day.
Right.
Now, what I mean by complex is typically the terminology that what we follow right now is the SDV vehicles penetration onto the Indian roads.
Correct.
Software-defined vehicles, what we are speaking here right now. So as we see, definitely in terms of the technological advancements that are being made on day-to-day basis. And I think the full marks goes to our OE business partners. Commendable job being done from their side in terms of the high technical specifications, the amount of mechatronics that is being generated in all the aspects of the vehicle engineering. So is the demand at our side, in order to cope up with those particular key characteristics parameters and to make sure that our products are able to maintain those quality standards not only for the running year, next year, also for the years to come. So that's one. Second thing, also the fact is sustainability. And again, when we talk about sustainability, at times we kind of tend to just focus on our specific product in the forms of the three Fs, let's say the form, fit, and the function. Sustainability is, of course, much more to that. And we at Schaeffler are very, very well aware of that particular fact. Just to give a simple example, even to the extent of the packaging, what packaging norms that are being deciphered from the government compliance policies, what is the material that we have to use in terms of having our packaging box being defined, even to the ink, let's say, what is being required to have those graphics being designed for the packaging box. Everything is encompassing that. And we have to make sure that we are strictly governed by those rules and regulations, and we make sure that we are driving in those directions to have a very sustainable and profitable growth. Third, I would say, related to the aspect would be the EV penetration into the aftermarket, which is, of course, inevitable. At this point of time, EV per se in a vehicle category would have a different percentage ratio in terms of the penetration. Let's say the three-wheeler would be at a much higher penetration,
correct,
followed by two-wheeler, followed by PC, and followed by commercial vehicle. So we, from the aftermarket perspective, have to make sure that we are well dressed and ready in terms of not only supplying our products, but also making sure that how the whole ecosystem in terms of servicing that electric vehicle, which is related to our parts, is being able to manage at a garage level. So I think these are the three key topics that we feel at Schaeffler would be very, very prominent in order to have a very sustained and a profitable growth in coming years.
I think, you're talking about sustainability. The first three things that came to your mind shows that it's embedded in your DNA. So thanks for bringing it up. You spoke about software-defined vehicles. It's introducing sensors, electronics, and data into aftermarket. And of course, electric vehicles introduces not just electric vehicles. You look at XEVs, a lot of other powertrains, range extenders. We have all these add a lot of, and we have a very diverse, heterogeneous vehicle part of makes and models now in India. All these adds to the complexity to the ecosystem. How does Schaeffler tackle this challenge?
As I mentioned earlier, that aftermarket is growing. It is offering a lot of potential, definitely, but it's getting complex day by day. And linked to this particular topic is, the market intelligence. So we, from our PGM perspective, the program management and the product management, we are absolutely in sync at the ground level as to what's happening in terms of the vehicle geometries, in terms of the vehicle car parks that are getting redefined in the Indian aftermarket landscape. Not only to that, we are, because from Schaeffler's perspective, we are so strongly connected in terms of having the OE flagship endorsements, not only for the existing programs, but also for the new generation platforms that they are going to launch even up to 2030. And in that context, from the aftermarket side, through that back-end approach, we have a very close connection with our internal team so as to make sure that whatever the technical advancements are happening at the OEM's level, we are in sync to those technical advancements in terms of redefining our KPIs, characteristics, etc. And we are well geared to have that particular growth trajectory we followed.
Staying ahead in terms of upcoming models is key to sustaining a good business. As a lead to what you just said, we understand that you have a strong heritage in, bearings, powertrain, mechatronics, etc. How is your aftermarket value proposition evolving beyond component replacement toward system level solutions? I mean, we talk about standardization in cars. How is it evolving from component to system level?
So I would say here, definitely would like to quote our online, let's say, upskilling tool model, what we define as Rep Expert. So Rep Expert is something which we are very actively involved in terms of imparting that sort of a technical know-how to the garage level mechanics as to how to make use of our products. Not only that, again, it comes to the aspect of the sustainability in making sure that the whole ecosystem which is related to our product, three Fs, let's say the form, fit, and the function, and how this gets fitted in the function. And last but not the least, at times, from the aftermarket domain, we tend to forget, or we kind of just focus upon the installation part. We tend to forget on the obsolescence of that particular part. And here again, we educate our mechanics as in terms of the obsolescence of the part, what would be its replacement rate, etc. And that's one sort of a platform which has been heavily endorsed in the Indian aftermarket. We have, from the length and breadth of the country, we have garages who are linked to that particular platform, registered with us. And that has been given us great results.
So you mentioned about mechanics, you mentioned about how you're moving from component replacement towards system level solutions. How are you using AI? I mean, are you using AI? If you are, how are you using it? I mean, can you give us a use case where you've seen the impact of it?
Again, AI is something which is evolving as we speak day by day. In its kind of a broader context, if I say yes, there is one particular module in which AI is being the only way of approach that we are using, it will be difficult to mention at this point of time. There are these softer aspects of AI in terms of, how to populate, let's say, the demand planning, in terms of whatever the numbers of the SKUs that we are selling day in, day out.
Yeah, primarily is where it's used.
Exactly, yes. Also in terms of gathering a further bit more market intelligence, in terms of, let's say, the percentage usage, obsolescence of the parts. Softer aspects of the, all those modules are what we are touching right now with the whole aspect of the AI.
Okay, that's interesting. What customer or market signals that impacts, most reshaping your company, in terms of aftermarket strategy in India today?
Market is definitely getting more matured to that extent. If I, let's say, talk about pre-COVID period, if I, rewind ourselves to a period of 2010, 2005, we would compare ourselves as compared to the west part of the world, which are, we would be lagging at that particular point of time. But I think now we have come to a stage where India is well poised to any market like, in Europe or US per se. There is good amount of, let's say, I can say sort of a consciousness from the garage level to have a very quality optimum part being used at their end. They have come to a stage, and thanks to, all tier one manufacturers like us, that we have created that awareness in terms of the fake and the genuine parts, etc., that they have come to a stage where they are willing to pay that sort of a premium price to make sure that they are using a very strong, optimum quality product so that it's, works for the defined vehicle life.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity for industry-led collaboration or policy-led intervention that could unlock the next phase of aftermarket growth in India?
Typically speaking here, I would say in the last 10 days, a little more than that, we have seen, 2 major deals being signed. At this point of time, as we speak right now, so we are still deciphering the final details of those particular policies. And once we gather some more information as to how they are able to, kind of support us in terms of redefining our strategies, I think we will be in a better position to answer this particular question.
Okay. India is a big market. And I was looking at statistics this morning that MEMA Association was showing us that by 2035, we're going to have 113 million vehicles on road. So it's definitely a big market. but also it's fragmented. There is the organized and the unorganized sector. But I was listening to one of the panel's discussions yesterday, and somebody was talking about let's fight to get a bigger market share at the front end, but let's work together at the back end to create a sustainable platform for the aftermarket ecosystem to come together that could help unlock new opportunities. What does Schaeffler play in this ecosystem? What do you think is your role? What are you doing to get this ecosystem together?
In fact, very interestingly, just 2 hours back today afternoon, I was in one of the panel discussions that was led by ACMA. And then more or less we were, debating on the same point as to how to evolve that particular ecosystem. And I think coming to the point, and that's what I mentioned there as well, from Schaeffler's point of view, we are 100% committed in terms of collaborating with tier 1 manufacturers like us in order to have some kind of a standardization of the policies in place in terms of standardization of, the specifications. Also in terms of, sharing the data towards the garages with what we are associated. See, at the end of the day, what we need to have is kind of a ecospace which is 100% standardized and 100% regulated in terms of compliances and policies, so that we kind of create a very active, field of the level play.
Counterfeiting. How do you intend to tackle that problem? I mean, it's a big issue in India.
Definitely, it's a big issue. And again, I take to the point of the rep expert, where one thing is we quite actively educate, the whole value chain, be it business partners, be it the retailers, wholesalers, down to the line to the mechanics. The let's say adverse effects of usage of the counterfeit parts, though on a short-term basis, they would be having some sort of a mediocre price advantage. But in the long-term basis, of course, it's very much detrimental to the overall vehicle performance. So that's one aspect we are doing. Other aspect, again, through the rep expert, what we are doing is, because all our business partners, the distribution channels, they have their own sales force. We make it a point to educate those sales force also, again, on these lines as to how for them to then educate to the secondary market to explain what Schaeffler, how it's a genuine compared to the fake part. That's one. On other hand, at the back-end side, if we pick any of our, let's say, Schaeffler box at this point of time, typically we would find a QR code, which is 100% authenticated, enabled. You, on the click of a button from your smartphone app, it will take you to a particular website which will authenticate, yes, there's a part number coming from Schaeffler. So it will confirm its authenticity.
Right.
And of course, we educate as much as possible the use of this particular, the QR code. Unfortunately, at this point of time, the awareness has not been to that extent, and it just not applies to us. It applies to more or less all the industry players like us. And it's just that we have to create more and more awareness. I mean, the data, what I have with me is the general scanning of this QR code would be probably a little more than double digits. So, 10%, 12%. It's more, that we have to take it to a much higher level, to even more than a 50%, so that we get to know, yes, day in, day out, the boxes are being scanned for the authenticity check. And yes, so these kind of rules are being applied in the aftermarket as well.
I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, education is important. Of government intervention is also required. Cataloging is key.
Yeah.
Do you think technologies like serialization, digital twins, blockchain could also help?
Again, digital twins is something that is one aspect that what we are also, prima facie looking at in terms of how our catalog could behave. Because typically a vehicle is denoted by a K-type number, which comes from its engine series. And there we try to see how, it can encompass a further kind of umbrella of the part numbers that are associated with that particular, that particular vehicle type or the engine code. Blockchain is something which is, for us, at least, it is kind of a very initial stage, but we'll see how in time to come we can make use of that as well.
Okay. And I'd like to conclude with this question. If you were to pick one technology that will disproportionately transform the Indian aftermarket for the next 5 years, what it would be? Again,
it will be very hard to mention at this point of time one particular technology, because day in, day out, so many advancements are happening in terms of, in Indian automotive aftermarket. One thing probably that we didn't speak about is the logistics per se. Logistics in itself is a very, very big thing.
Definitely. Yeah.
How, let's say, from our shop floor down the line, changing hands from various stakeholders in the whole value chain that particular part is reaching the, let's say, the mechanic or the end consumer. And logistics, again, is going through a much, much advanced, technological interface, not just based upon the physical movement of the part from one place to another, but also in terms of tracking that particular part. So again, I would say at this point of time, it's difficult to mention just one, but the whole aspects of, the aftermarket, let's say the peripherals are going through a very advanced, rapid change.
No, thank you. Thank you for doing this interview with us. And, Schaeffler has all the right foundation to enable the opportunity here in the Indian aftermarket, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And have a good show.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajit. Thank you.